Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC, the day before Liverpool play Brighton in the Premier League after their 3-2 win over the same opposition in the Cup during the week. Now, we are expecting significant change to the Liverpool team for Saturday's game. Queven Keller almost certainly comes back in goal. Trent Alexander-Arnold in at right back. Ibu Konate and Virgil van Dijk centre back. Left back is a question mark. Ryan Gravenberch and Alex McAllister will be restored to the midfield. The third midfield position remains a question mark. Mo Salah will start on the right. Darwin Núñez will start through the middle. And left wing is the third question mark. So the team is at the moment picking itself. Part of that obviously is Diogo Jota's injury. It's Alisson Becker's injury. But the team is the team for the moment. There are three positions of contention. Left back being the first. It's between Andy Robertson and Kostas Tsimikas. Joe Gomez doesn't seem to be an option at left back under this manager. Robbo's not playing well and hasn't played particularly well for quite a long time. We know that ultimately Kostas is not good enough to be a starter, a first-choice starter for Liverpool. But at the moment, he's in better form, and he has been for a considerable period of time dating back to the start of last season. So starting Kostas and giving him a run of games seems like a logical option here. So that's one thing that we may see start on Saturday is that Kostas Tsimikas comes in and gets a run of games at left back. In the midfield, obviously Szoboszlai started the season in that position and has played most of the games in that third midfield role. But Curtis Jones has been playing well of late, some sub-appearances, some starts, and doesn't necessarily warrant being left out of the team. It's just that the midfield doesn't function as well without Szoboszlai because of what he offers off the ball. Both in terms of his pressing and his tracking, Szoboszlai really is vital to that midfield. So I would guess it's him who gets to start, but happy either way. And then that third and final contentious position, that left wing role, both have strong claims for it based on the season to date. I think Cody, coming off the performance against Brighton and over maybe the last 3 or 4 games, has probably moved ahead of Diaz. Diaz obviously started the season in better form. That has tapered a little bit, but he did get a good goal against Brighton and I thought played quite well. So again, there's no wrong choice here, but I do feel like with Darwin as the 9, it works better with Cody. The balance is better. I feel like if Jota's the 9, then it works better with Diaz. I think you can only really have one agent of chaos in your front 3. And Darwin and Diaz are both chaotic footballers. Whereas Jota and Cody, they're more deliberate in their actions. They're more considered in what they do. So I feel like the balance is, if it's Diaz, it's got to be Jota. If it's Cody, it's got to be Darwin. And given it has to be Darwin as the 9, Cody is the one to go for. I think that balance is better. I think that partnership is better. Because we know Mo does Mo on the right. There's more connection between the 9 and the left-sided player. There's more interchange. And I think it just works better when it's those pairings. Now, against certain opposition, you will want Jota and Cody. Against certain opposition, maybe on a bigger pitch with slower defenders, you might want Darwin and Diaz. But I think ultimately you want Jota and Diaz or Darwin and Cody. And given it will be Darwin as the 9 in this game because Jota is injured, I think it just makes more sense to go with Cody on the left, particularly when he is in better form right now. Though it is not a huge gulf. Diaz is still playing well. So that would be my team. Callagher, Trent, Ibu, Virgil, and Costas. Gravenberch, Alexis, and Dominic. And then Salah, Darwin, and Cody. That's the team I would like to see lining up to take on Brighton. Obviously, like I say, there's no Jota. He's not going to be back till after the international break. The same is true of Alisson Becker. And today, the manager has confirmed that Federico Chiesa won't be back until after the international break. Harvey Elliott is training, not up to full speed yet, and it's expected that he will be after the international break. So look, we have Brighton, then we have Bayer Leverkusen, then we have Villa, then it's the break, and then potentially 4 more players come back into the mix for us. 2 of whom I think it's fair to say are starters in, well, Alisson obviously, but I think Arne has made it pretty clear from the way things were going when both were fit that Jota is the 9 and Darwin is the backup. Chiesa provides really good depth and an option off the bench, and Harvey does the same. So this would be big for us to get these players back. In terms of Brighton, they've got some problems. Now, Adam Webster and James Milner being out are not problems. Neither of them are good enough, but they're both out. João Pedro is back in training, but not expected to be ready for Saturday's game. Matt O'Reilly is back in training, not expected to be back for Saturday's game. Maybe they make the bench. The same is true of Yankuba Minta. Lewis Dunk, there looks like it's a good chance he will make the game. He has not been good for about 15 months now, but he will start if available. Kadioglu, he went off, obviously, during the week, but they're saying it's not too serious and he should be an option for them on the weekend, maybe off the bench. Then you've got Solly March, who's been out since September of last year, I want to say, with a torn ACL and a bunch of other things messed up in his knee. Hopefully he's back soon. You never like to see a player miss so long, and especially one like Solly March, who is just a great story. Like, Solly March, if you played out his career from the age of 16 100 times, this is maybe 1 of 2 times where he becomes a Premier League footballer. Remember, this kid was not picked up by any academy. He was playing for Lewis. If you don't know where Lewis is, it's a small town in Sussex. It's Sunday League football. Brighton bought him at the age of 17 I think for about £25,000. Brighton at that time were like not even considering the Premier League as a possibility for them. And all of a sudden, he's with them up through their rise, through the Championship for 4 years in the Championship, Solly March. Actually, I think 5 seasons he was playing for them in the Championship. Comes into the Premier League, is a regular the first couple of seasons, and then when Graham Potter comes in, he's sort of worked out of the team. And he reinvents himself as this high-level role player who can play everywhere. And he starts to become more and more important for them again. And then De Zerbi takes over. And he just turns out to be the perfect Roberto De Zerbi player. And he's in the form of his life. He scores 8 goals in 39 games in 22-23. His previous career high for a season was 3. And then last season, he played 10 games in all competitions. So it would have been October then, I guess, that he got hurt early. Actually, it'll say it here. It doesn't say it here. It doesn't really matter. He scored 3 goals in the first 10 games, 3 in the first 7 Premier League games, was absolutely flying. Brighton had gone into Europe for the first time, and his knee gets destroyed. And we haven't seen him since. You just hope that when he gets back, he's at a similar enough level to what he was at before, or that he can work his way back to that level. But unfortunately for Solly, he's now 30. He'll turn 31 at the end of this season. Like, that's not the type of injury you really want at 29. I know Virgil had it around the same age, but Virgil's a freak of nature, and Virgil might be the best centre-back that's ever played the game. Solly March is just a very good player who worked and maximised every bit of talent he had to become a really good player for a couple of years there. So hopefully he comes back. Hopefully. But he's not back for this weekend, so we needn't worry about him. Brighton, if you haven't heard the latest scouted, me and Carl went over Brighton's squad, and I just think when you go club by club and you look at, what they have now, and you try and project over the next, say, 5 years, there's not many clubs in a better situation than them. Like 9s, 10s, right wingers, left wingers, central midfielders, left backs, they're just loaded, absolutely loaded with immense talent. Centre back and right back are the questions for them, the issues for them. The goalkeepers is outstanding. Verbruggen, now he's young, so he'll make mistakes, but he's an enormous prospect. They've also got Karl Rushworth and Kjell Scherpen, both of whom are very, very good young goalkeepers as well. That's a great position for them to be in. Their goalkeeping situation is not as good as ours, but nobody has a situation as good as ours. If they can nail centre-back and right-back next summer, and say move on Estupinan and Mitoma, and turn those positions over to Kadioglu and Adingra, and you bring Osman back in as the backup to Adingra, and then you've got those two on that wing. You've got Gruda and Minta on the right. You've got Enciso and Reuter as the 10s. And then you've got Ferguson and João Pedro as the 9s. I mean, that's ludicrous. Then at left back, you'd have Kadioglu and Barco. In midfield, you have Baliba, you have Vifer, you have O'Reilly, you have Hinchelwood, and you have Yasin Yari. Like, they're stocked and loaded to go, while selling Kara Matoma, who's really good, and Pervis Estupinan, who's really good. That would bring in more than enough money for them to go and bring in 2 centre-backs, and then you could have Van Hecke, Lewis Dunk, and Igor, what's his name? I can't think of his surname. as the kind of the depth centre backs. You get 2 starting centre backs, and then at right back, you go and you bring someone in, and you've still got Veltman behind him, and then you've got Lamptey as depth. I mean, they're 3 players away from having a squad that could really develop into not just a European contender, but a potential top 4 contender. Now, it will not be a permanent thing because obviously the model is buy them, develop them, sell them, or find them, develop them, sell them, because we know the academy is quite decent there too. They're going to be around for a long time. They're going to be a problem for a long time. And anytime you see people predicting the downfall of Brighton and say that the bubble is about to burst, just point them to the squad that they have, because it is ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous, how much talent they have there. They've got a very exciting young manager in Fabian Herzliya, who has taken to the Premier League really quickly. They've only lost once this season, remember? Same as us, but they have 4 draws, and they'll be disappointed by some of their results. Went over it yesterday unscouted. But for a new manager coming in, given the back half of last season was quite shaky for Brighton, for a new manager to come in and implement his way of playing this quickly, which isn't a massive departure from De Zerbi's way, admittedly, but the defensive structure is different. Their out-of-possession structure is different. He's done that. He's getting good results. They're 6th in the league. He's 31 or 32 years of age, which is like really depressing to think about. He's younger than Virgil. He's younger than Virgil van Dijk. When is his birthday, actually? Let's see. Fabian Herzliya. His birthday is the 26th of February, 1993. So if I'm not mistaken, that means he is also younger than Mo. Yeah, he is 7 months younger than Mo. Is he younger than Alisson? If this would work, it'd be great. He is, yeah. He's younger than Alisson. He's 4 months younger than Alisson. Like, how is this where football has gotten to? Nothing. I think it's brilliant, but it's so funny that this is like where we have managers in the league now who like, you know, he didn't have the playing career that maybe he would have hoped for. Didn't make the grade at Bayern, didn't make the grade at Hoffenheim, didn't make the grade at 1860 Munich, and then played in the lower leagues while also managing. You know, cutting his teeth as a manager. But like, he should still be playing. He's 31. He doesn't turn 32 till February. That's just... But like, this is the thing. Like, he's done 2 years at St. Pauli. Brighton have nabbed him. There's no reason Brighton can't have him for 4 or 5 years, and then another top club comes in to take him away. If he does well, he can oversee the development of all these young players. And Brighton are going to be a big, big issue for clubs for years to come. It's not just a nice story anymore with Brighton. Like, they are the real deal. And they need to be respected as such. This is going to be a tough game for us at the weekend. It just is. It's going to be a tough game. There's a lot of really good players in that team. And whereas in previous seasons, not necessarily the last couple of seasons, but prior to that, we used to look at Brighton as, well, that'll be 6 points. Now they're a threat to come and beat us. Like, they are. I know we've beaten them during the week. We had a heavily rested team, but so did they. They probably had more first-choice players than us playing. but they still have a heavily rested team, and they still have they have more injuries than us. But they're going to be an issue. We're going to have to be on form at the weekend to beat them. We're going to have to play better than we did against Arsenal to beat them, because they will punish errors. Unlike Arsenal, they're not afraid to attack. Unlike Arsenal, they've got players who can open us up through their dribbling, through their passing, through their aggression and directness. They're going to be an issue. Thus far this season, Danny Welbeck leads them with 6 goals. Simon Adingra has 4. João Pedro, Jorginho Rutter, and Carlos Baliba have 2 each. In the Premier League, it's Welbeck with 6, Adingra with 1. Rutter has 2, João Pedro has 2, Baliba has 1. Minta, Matoma, Ferguson, and Hinchell would all have 1 each. They have scored 16 goals in the Premier League, which is not bad at all through 9 games.
These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, sending away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is pushing back against that tide. They make the high-quality clothing staples you need for a comfortable, stylish, and active summer wardrobe, like vintage-style tees, breathable polos, lightweight sweatshirts, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country, and jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. Support America's workers and get 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com, code STAPLE20.
We've obviously scored 17. Where we do have a significant advantage is defensively. We have that advantage over everybody. We've only conceded 5 in the league. Best defence in the league so far. Best goal difference in the league so far as well, it should be pointed out. Whereas they've conceded 12. And when you look at their results, they have been masters of their own downfall a couple of times. You know, they played Nottingham Forest. They looked really wobbly defensively. And having been 2-1 up at home, they coughed up a second goal. Now, Forest are no schmucks. We learned that the hard way. But then they went the following week and they played Chelsea, and Chelsea scored 4, and they gifted 3 of them. Absolutely gifted 3 of them. Then they played Spurs. They go 2-0 down. They work their way back. They win the game, but conceding 2 at home is not ideal. And then they played Wolves in their last Premier League game. They were 2-0 up with 88 minutes on the clock, and they end up drawing the game. And again, it's defensive frailty that we're seeing with them. You see it constantly with this Brighton team, and we saw it constantly under De Zerbi. Now, it's not a big surprise. They haven't invested the same way at centre-back as they have in other areas. They don't have the same level of quality or the same level of depth. When you look at the centre-backs in their squad, we're looking at Igor Julio. That's the guy I couldn't think of his surname. He was brought in last summer, okay? But Adam Webster arrived in 2019. Van Hecke arrived in 2020 for $1.5 million. He's the only young centre-back they've invested in. Lewis Dunk came through their academy, is now 32 years of age. Joel Veltman is the starting right-back. He arrived in 2020. So since 2020, the only players, actually Lamptey arrived in 2020 as well. Since then, the only players to come in at right-back or centre-back is Igor Julio. That's it. That's all they've done in 4 years is sign Igor Julio. Now, they did have, obviously, Levi Colwell there on loan, but he's gone. Julio was signed to replace him. But they just haven't invested in that position in the same way. That's something I would expect to see change in the summer to come. Like I say, I could see Estupinan leaving. He's been there 2 years. This is year 3. I could see by the end of this season they look to move him on, hand the position over to Kadioglu, and bring back maybe Ezekiel Barco off loan and pop him in. I didn't even mention Buenanote as another player that can play right side or as the 10, he's on loan as well. They just need to focus on improving that defence, and they're going to be in a great position for years to come. And we need to be aware of that, because as we look at the landscape, we can look at City and say Pep will leave maybe next summer, maybe there's the summer after. Eventually there will be a drop-off at City, and that will create opportunities, but is the league going to get more difficult? And the answer is yes, it is going to get more difficult, because Villa are going to continue to grow. Newcastle will continue to grow. Chelsea will eventually get themselves on the right path. They may be on it already. It's too early to tell. United have just made a brilliant hire in Ruben Amorim. Now, I said on Two Footed earlier in the week, he's the best possible manager they could have gotten. That's probably the worst job he could have taken, just given the incompetency that is still rife within that organisation. Arsenal are not showing signs of going anywhere. I think Spurs are still improving. Brighton are going to get better and better and better. So it is going to become more complicated. It is going to become tougher, I think, to win league titles. Even post-City, I could see more of a level playing field, more parity throughout the league, where maybe we go a decade and nobody wins back-to-back because there's more teams in and around the same level. And while people might think it's unlikely, there is a world in which these players who are outrageously talented and all sort of, 25 and under, the ones we're talking about here. Verbruggen's 22, Lamptey for Depp, 24, Kadioglu's 25, Van Hecke is 24. These are players who will be part of a core squad moving forward. Gruda is 20, Adingra is 22, Minta is 20, Baliba is 20, Ayari is 21, Wiefer is 24, O'Reilly's 23, Hinchelwood is 19, João Pedro's 23, and Cisso's only 20, Ruder's 22, Evan Ferguson is 20. You've got Ibrahim Osman there that I mentioned. He is 19, turns 20 in a few weeks. You've got Carl Rushworth that I mentioned. He is 23. Kjell Sherpen, the other goalkeeper, is 24. Buenanote, I think, is 22. He's not even. He's 19 years of age. Ezekiel Barco is 20. You've also got Andrew Moran, who's a massively talented young Irish player. He's 21. Abdoulaye Sima, who I think is quite good. He's 23. Malik Yalkoy, that kid is I think, going to be really, really special. He's 18. If all of these players develop and they're not forced into Caicedo-type situations where they start, one or two will leave, obviously. João Pedro's not there for the next 3 years. But Evan Ferguson might be. And maybe they find someone else because it's what they do. They're going to be really, really good. Again, I don't think they'll win a league title, but I do think they could become a team that is top 4 twice in 5 years, if they can keep the guts of this together. I do think that's a real possibility for them. And I do think, and I've said this for a couple of years, the ideal version of Liverpool is Brighton on steroids, doing what they do in terms of buying players young, developing them. The difference is we don't need to sell them. We don't need to move them on at 23. We could keep them till they're 28 and then sell them and then reinvest. We could also be buying players to develop them, not for ourselves, but to sell on at big profit. And this, I think, is what Edwards and co wanted to do originally, and Jurgen didn't want to do that. Don't think Jurgen wanted to see that investment in young players. But I do think we'll see more of it now. I think Arne will be more open to that idea. I think the club will be more open to that idea. I think part of buying a second club will be to do something like this. Chelsea are trying to do it, but in a really clumsy way. But what these do is special. Anyway, there's loads of pre-match talk and speculation on This Is Anfield. There's also a piece about Liverpool officially making contact or declaring interest in Omar Marmoush of Eintracht Frankfurt. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what officially declaring interest in it actually means in reality. It just seems like some nonsense that a journalist has said. The more I think about him, the more I just don't see it for us. I just don't see where he fits or how he fits. He plays off the left or he plays through the middle as part of a two. He does not play through the middle on his own, not to a good level. We don't play with a front two, so he doesn't really fit. And this form that we're seeing him in this year, which is tremendous, no question, he's playing as part of a front two. And I don't know how that translates into our team. Because he's not the 9. He's like the 9.5, the second striker. Ekitike, the young French guy, he's the 9 in that team. I just don't see that we're going to do that. And I don't think he's going to be as effective off the left because he never has been before. A lot of people talk about the Bundesliga tax, and I do think it's a real thing. I would also say there's an Eintracht Frankfurt tax that people should consider here as well. And look back on Eintracht over the last number of years and forward players that have been there and done really well and then moved on and not done anywhere close to the same. You know, I would point you in the direction of Sebastian Haller, who scored 20 goals in 18-19, was very highly regarded, went to West Ham, didn't work. Luka Jovic, that same season, scored 27 goals, went to Real Madrid, complete flop, 3 years into a 5-year deal, Real let him go on a free. And he signed for Fiorentina on a 1-year deal. Then he signed for AC Milan on a 1-year deal, and now he's playing on a second 1-year deal with AC Milan because he's not replicating that same form. It's just not there for him. The following season then, you're again looking at Andre Silva. Goes in there, does really, really well, having joined from Milan where it hadn't worked out for him. He does well there for a couple of seasons, earns a big money move to RB Leipzig, and has not done well at Leipzig. Spent last season out on loan, and it didn't go great out on loan last season either. When he moved on, a lot of the goal scoring landed on Daichi Kamada. He's a very good player, but he hasn't replicated it since leaving them. Hasn't come close to replicating it since leaving them. I'd look at Jesper Lindstrom. He was tremendous for them. Went to Napoli, flopped, currently struggling to get a start at Everton. Filip Kostic was brilliant for them. Went to Juve, awful. Currently on loan at Fenerbahce. Like, there's just a litany of players that have been there and not done it when they've left. And the latest one, obviously, is Randall Kolomuani, who they signed for free. For free. He has one very good season. No question. Very good season. 23 goals in 46 games. Paris Saint-Germain pay €85 million for him after one season. They had no interest in him when he was at Nantes. None at all. They signed him for 85 million, and he has a pretty disastrous campaign with them and is now struggling again this season. Like, there is some sort of voodoo at Eintracht Frankfurt which cannot be trusted. And I do not want to trust it. I do not want to put my faith in players being able to replicate whatever it is that they do at Eintracht Frankfurt outside of Eintracht. Because none of them have been able to do it. And that's quite a few players that just have not been able to do it. And frankly, if I was signing someone from Eintracht, it would be Ibimbi, not Marmoush. Ibimbi, I think he could replicate. I think he could do it anywhere. I think he's really, really good. There's actually, to be fair, there's a couple there that I do really like. Amenda, the young Swiss centre-back, I really like him. He's one that I think we should be looking at as a potential Virgil successor. I think he's very, very good. But that would be it. The more I think about it with Marmoush, I think he's really good, don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's for us. Right, moving on to Anfield Index. I already have it up. AnfieldIndex.com. There is a piece about our apparent interest in Milos Kerkez. There is a piece about Jan Molby and his preview of the next two games. There's a preview of the Brighton game. There's a piece about our forward line and another piece from Jan's views, rather, looking at the Arsenal draw and the Brighton win. Podcast-wise, we have that news scouted up, so do give that a listen. There is also the new Molby on the spot, Trev and Jan, always good. And then there is a Media Matters with Dave Davis and Ben Boxak, so give that a listen. And we've just put up Arne Slot's pre-match press conference for today, so give that a listen too. And that is all I have for the week. I will be back on Monday, though I am unscouted tomorrow. Myself, Mo, and Guy is hosting because Trev is away. So give that a listen. Dave Davis is here for the Daily Red tomorrow, and then he'll have a longer Daily Red on Sunday. Yeah, because it's match day tomorrow, so you do the longer one on Sunday. So yeah, that's where we stand. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully the rain stays away. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.